Bards. Board games, board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off this morning doing a little bit of blethering with this person over there. Their name is Norbert. Norbert's made a game in Board Game Arena. Cause Norbert, that's what they wanna do during the time of lockdown. They live maybe in a town, in the place in a distant land. It is known as New Zealand. Board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. Hey! Good morning and hello, Xate. It is lovely to see you. And hello, Alan Outen. I am Bez. It is approximately, I don't know what time it is anymore, but we are blethering about board games. And we have Norbert, who is talking to us about programming a game for Board Game Arena, which I'm quite excited about because we have become quite fans of Board Game Arena, whether it's playing Can't Stop or Crazy Farmers and Occluders Electrics. And so Norbert got their game, Flaming Pyramids, and puts it on during lockdown, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yep.
And yes, if you speak German, then we could rhyme so many more things if we start being multilingual. But yeah, let me talk about brilliant thing. Here's a little thing which is brilliant. And I would like to talk about linen finish. I mean, this is very... Look, I just like the texture on the cards. I like cards. We all like cards, right? But, you know, it's just, you feel it grips a little bit better. It slides a little bit nicer. And sure, once you've had the cards open maybe a year and a half and you've played 200 games, maybe they start to get dirty and you need to buy a new deck of cards. But there's something lovely about having that tactile feel. And I think that people just... the difference from that compared to something which is just yeah, smooth. I mean, sure, yeah, I'm just all about the texture. I'm just all about the linen finish. How do you feel about linen finish cards? Are you a fan?
Oh dear. I'm actually a fan of really used old cards. That makes sense when you have played them for a long time and shuffling is already a bit interesting. That's what I like, that feeling.
What, when they get stuck together?
Yeah, kind of. When I grew up, those were the sets of cards that you always had with you on vacation. So they might not be the prettiest cards, but they kind of tell a story. I don't know. So I'm not a card sleever, to be honest. Some people might hate me for that, but I don't know. I don't mind when cards look a little bit used. Means the game gets played.
I think that, yeah, there's something beautiful. And I know that recently I was in, yeah, visiting some people in France, and then I saw some Tintin cards and the faces were all worn. But still, if you have linen finish to start with, I think that as it gets worn, it becomes even more beautiful.
Yes, no, that's true.
So let's move on and talk about games. What have we been playing? What are their names? Games. So I have been playing 2 games yesterday. I did also take a couple of turns on Crazy Farmers and Occluders Electrics. I'm playing a couple of games, and one of them, yeah, I almost feel bad about the person because they now have one little well, 3 farms left, and I have about 17. So it's getting a bit one-sided. But we played Micro Muckle. We played that twice, and I managed to get 31 points. I was so excited. The maximum is 32. So I feel like maybe we should change the rules now so that the maximum is even harder to attain. And maybe make it a variant on Micro Muckle. We will see how we get on. The other thing that we played was Giftable, also with the L deck, which is a game of creativity where we were talking about, there was an impressionist and there was a magician who was offered some bountiful sleeves, but instead it was the baby xenopuses. I don't know if you're familiar with xenopuses, the tiny clawed frogs. So they are frogs with claws on them. And that one, so it's just kind of one of these games where you come up with ideas and people vote, well, the judge picks which one they felt was the favorite. But yeah, that was nice to play with Emily, and it was so much fun. You can go back and watch that. But what have you been playing, Norbert? Anything exciting?
Yeah, I love big strategy games. So the last game I played was actually Terraforming Mars. Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago.
There's some big fans of Terraforming Mars that watch this show, I know.
Well, I'm fortunate enough to be with a group of people who are, I think, even more fans of the game than I am, and that's amazing. I mean, there's nothing worse than having a game that you really love, but then nobody wants to play it with you, and you always feel like you're kind of forcing people into that game. I hate when that happens, to be honest. So I'm surrounded by people who even want to play it more than I do. So I consider myself very lucky.
Well, I mean, for sure. And Xate there doesn't have anyone to play it with. I mean, at least in real life. But we have Alan, who played a few games of Mastermind with their son. They went old school. I was actually watching half an episode of Dave Gorman. I don't know if people know Dave Gorman, season 3, episode 6. It's all about board games and also a little bit about video games, but talking about, there's actually lots of mixed emotions about that, but shout out to things there. Now, let me move on to daily highlights, living life and seeing the sights, daily highlights. So for me, my recent highlights, I want to say, are you familiar with Moby's song Flower?
I'm not sure.
I'm going to play
Moby.
a very short excerpt of it, and then I will give a review of this song. Does this spark any memories? So in this song, Moby basically starts off with a constant beat. There's some bass line that goes into it, and then there's a building treble, and then eventually around the 30-second mark, what you see is a quick refrain that sounds something like this. Now, the brilliant thing about this song is that you can use it for working out. Now, this is not probably what Moby intended, but bring daddy up, bring daddy down. So when you kind of do sit-ups, but you never touch the floor in between, so you try to sit up and never actually let your back go onto the floor, you can do the same thing with push-ups, and you can do a similar thing with leg raises, and then when it goes into the refrain, you do that for the sit-ups. I managed to get through 2 refrains for the sit-ups. I managed to do about 30 seconds with the push-ups, only 30 seconds, but I managed to do the full song for the leg raises, so I'm very happy. And that is my main achievement this morning. So I'm quite chuffed that at least I did some proper exercise, because the hula hooping recently, it's just become, because once you do something a lot, it becomes easier and easier. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so thank you, Moby, for making a great song for working out, and I would absolutely recommend it to anyone. What are one of your recent highlights?
Recent highlights. Well, since we're at the topic of music, We just released another song on my music channel, so it's I had my head fully in that. I collaborate there with my daughter actually, and that was really amazing. We just got another one out, so that was great.
And
Had my
it's
head deep in that one.
now it's lovely that you're doing all these projects with your family. I want to remind people at this point, if you like this show, please do comment. If you're watching along, feel free to ask any questions. I will try to get through all the questions in due course, and feel free to like and follow. Now, moving on to my favorite section to get us properly started is the questionably quick questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Did you have breakfast?
Yes, I did. Quite a while ago. I mean, I'm in New Zealand, so it's
Sure,
9 o'clock in
did
the evening
you
here.
have breakfast in the mornings? That's the key question.
Yeah. At 6 o'clock, I had breakfast.
Wow. What time did you wake up?
Well, normally I wake up at something like 7 or 8, but today I was a bit earlier. I think I
Okay.
got a little bit excited about doing this interview and things like that.
Oh, awesome. What's the last thing you ate?
Oh, we just had dinner. Mashed potatoes and peas and some meat with it. It's really good.
Nice. Iced coffee or hot tea?
Hot tea.
What's the best thing to eat or drink whilst playing board games?
Oh god, something that doesn't leave any marks, right? So chips, but don't use any dip. Especially not when you're playing with children. Then you just want to keep any food away from the games.
That's a fair point. So, who's the last person you spoke to in person?
My wife or my whole family are just saying, please stay away from the living room. I'm doing the interview.
Books or podcasts?
That depends on the situation, to be honest. At home, when I have time, books. When I'm commuting, podcast.
And what is the last book you read or the last podcast you listened to? Whichever one was most recent.
Book actually. It's a German author, Andreas Eschbach. He writes some crazy stuff, and he wrote a book called The Jesus Video. It's not a religious pamphlet. It's actually about a time traveler who went back in time and made a video of Jesus and everything around that. It's really an amazing book.
And maybe you can translate. Kenn ich nicht empfehlenswert.
That was actually not bad. Yeah, I would recommend it. So the question means I don't know it. Would you recommend it? And I would say yes. Andreas Eschbach in general is a really good author.
Yeah, fair enough. You can make me speak other languages if I know that you're a good person and you're not making me say bad words. If you ever make me say bad words, or then that right is totally revoked. So, the last physical game you played, would that be Terraforming Mars?
Yes.
And what color?
Green.
I'm
pretty I'm pretty insisting on using green, not because I'm a dick, but more because if I don't have the color green, then I start accidentally moving the tiles of other people. if someone else is playing green.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of people who just have to have something going on. Wooden meeple or plastic figurine?
To be honest, back in the days I would have said wood, but these days there are these. I realized I'm a sucker for these really big 3D printed figurines. You know, when you're at a board games convention or something, and someone lays out a game you've never seen before, you don't know what it is about, but there are these big Cthulhu figurines, and you're already interested. I don't know if you know what I mean, but that's totally
I
me.
do know what you mean. Cards or cubes?
Both. I love games where both comes together. That's why I'm a big fan of terraforming Mars, for example. You have some things out in the open, how you terraform Mars, how it changes its surface, and some markers, colonies that you get. Yeah, green, the winter color. Yeah, and but then you also have some elements that are just in your hand. That those are the cards. So I actually enjoy that mixture of both.
Now, can you tell us 3 games that you love?
Yeah, of course. Well, one game I play a lot with the kids is Betrayal at House on the Hill. And
Oh, yeah.
and the interesting element, what I hadn't expected is it's pretty creepy, right? So I was not sure, do the kids actually like it or not?
I mean, if you get into it, definitely it's trying to be a horror game. Like you starts off navigating this big mansion, and then suddenly, oh, something happens, and someone's the monster or something. It's really more
Yeah.
about the story than trying to win, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's not a game that if you're playing this as a strategy game, then you're missing the point, I guess. It's more about the experience, and the thing is, my kids are not that much into any gory or something stuff. So as soon as it gets gory, they hate it. But it's not gory at all. It's just creepy. And what I realized over time is when you play that with children, they really love it. When my kids have friends over, because it has this telling a creepy story over campfire atmosphere, and they just love that. It has a huge appeal actually when you're looking for a game to play with children, age, I don't know, 9 to 15. That's the game, and I like that a lot because it's never hard to get people to play it.
And what else would you put up there alongside?
Citadels,
Oh,
all-time favorite
game
of
by
mine.
Bruno Fedduti or Cafalla?
Yes, exactly. Bruno Federici, I think that's how you
Fedduti, yeah.
pronounce his name.
That's a great game, picking lots of rules and trying to get your resources a little bit going. And what else?
And the last one, the third one, I would say is Ricochet Robots.
Oh,
Have you ever heard of that one?
oh yes, like a big multiplayer one. Everyone's looking at this crazy puzzle, trying to work out how to get the robot to go back in. You
Exactly,
say, okay, I can do it in 5 moves. Oh no, I can do it in 4 moves. And then you
Exactly, that's it. And it's amazing because I took it to some camps and stuff like that, and you have people wandering just in and joining in for a while and leaving, and you can play it basically with any number of players. How many you can fit around the table? That's basically the physical limit that can look at the board, but then everyone can join in, and yeah, it's just amazing, and it's explained in 1 minute. But
yeah,
it
Ricochet
has
Robots, great
it
game.
has the complexity of I would say chess or something. So that is an all-time favorite of mine.
And want to say good morning to Alex. And Xate says, das ist Furcht und Adel oder ohne.
Yeah, exactly. The German title is Ohne Furcht und Adel.
That's for Ricochet Robots?
No, that's for Citadels.
Okay. Furcht und Adel is the name for Citadels. Man, Germans always making it longer.
It's a bit of wordplay, the title. Normally the saying is Ohne Furcht und Tadel, which means without, oh god, without fear and flaw.
Ooh.
But they took a T away, and then it means without fear and royalty. It's a word game. It's stuff like that is always hard to translate.
And Javier, it's lovely to see you. And yeah, there's a Scooby-Doo version, which is kind of crazy. I don't know. It's fun that there's licenses and IPs now attached to games that are actually good. I like that.
Of Betrayal is a Scooby-Doo
Yeah,
version.
of Betrayal, the House on the Hill, there's now a Scooby-Doo version. Had you not heard about this?
No, I definitely have to look into that. We just got the expansion, the Widow's Walk. Just looking at my game stage here. I'm not talking nonsense. And we're still not through all the adventures there.
Now, I wanted to say, so there's a lot going on. You've got obviously music, and it's lovely that you're doing this with your family, and can check out one of the songs later maybe. And but we're here to chat about your game, which
Yes,
was published by Cheeky Parrots.
exactly.
And Cheeky Parrot Games, Flaming Pyramids, was this your first game?
Yes, yes. At the moment, it's my first and only game. So,
What I
it's
mean
a
was, presumably you had a lot of game ideas beforehand that you were working on.
yeah, kind of. I have to admit, a lot of that stuff never went too far. So I've been always playing around. I built a lot of variants of games that I have, or we did some handmade expansions. Um, just building, adding stuff or making up, and a lot of stuff that I make, I just take some random pictures from the internet and put some stuff together. We had a really simple car racing game with the kids that was simple to the point of being overly simple. And then we just built characters around that from cars and just printed that stuff down. But if you want to turn it into a real game, then of course you need someone who's drawing actual stuff. And most of the time I couldn't be bothered. I just moved on and had the next idea. But Flaming Pyramids stuck around long enough that I basically turned it into a real game. And that was an amazing experience, to be honest, just to have done this, to walk into a random game shop and to be able to see your own game. That's so, I don't know, that still blows me away. You're muted. I can't hear you.
And there's something lovely about this. Now, I thought that to illustrate this, we could, I see, if I start this game, hopefully Norbert will accept this, and we can start this before anyone else joins. So this is the game that we're playing, Flaming Pyramids, and I would like to just ask you, so I'm going to tell us the 30-second explanation of the game, if you would.
All right. So in front of you, you see a pyramid shape. It's two-dimensional, not 3D, so in a way it's just a triangle. And you're placing tiles in a pyramid shape on top of each other. And it works a little bit like spatial Uno, if you want. So the cards you place on top of two other cards, they have to fit in color or in number. And then there's one more element that they are not allowed to be too heavy. Otherwise, you have a collapse. And I think that's a bit special about the game. That sets it apart from other games. You have never to sit out or anything. If you do an illegal move, then you have a collapse in the pyramid. You might see that in a minute. So for example, if I place a card that is not allowed to be placed here, like that 6, then the two other cards crumble and the 6 falls down and I get to decide where it goes.
And it's, as you say, it is kind of like Uno. It's very simple, and I played it a couple of times with Xate, and thank you, Xate. Okay, so I need to play a 40 or a 20, and it needs to be, or it needs to be blue.
Yeah, I've been a bit of meanie because so now I play the fire card next to the 200 because I can, just to get rid of it. But you could, for example, play this stone. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can see your cards right now.
Yeah, it's not ideal because you do have that advantage, but hey ho, it's not a super serious game.
No.
And so with this game, and I think I am going to have to make the tower crumble, which is a bit sad because I don't have a 40, I don't have a 20, I don't have a green, and so
yeah, Yeah, this is where the game gets a little bit more strategic, because now you have to think, okay, which card do you play that at least doesn't crumble too much? So that would be
Exactly,
any red
and
card.
if I play a red, then at least it'll touch the red so it can stay there.
Exactly.
And it won't crumble. Now,
Oh God.
what
Now
is
I have
the
to play blue.
what's the process of programming a game like this? And obviously, you came in from working in the computer science field,
Yeah.
and have you always been fascinated by programming?
Yes, I have actually. When I was a child, I think like 9 years old or something, I had my first contact with a computer, and I needed no convincing to try to go into programming. I was absolutely fascinated by it right from the get-go. So I have all the nasty calls here. So in terms of programming, I had done, before I went into this, I had already done a lot of web design in the past, but hadn't done anything for, I would say, 5 to 10 years. So coming to board games arena was a bit a challenge for me to basically relearn what I had known. Java has changed quite a bit. So in terms of languages that you have to use, it's all around web programming. Board Games Arena is built on server side on PHP, and on client side it's JavaScript. And they use Dojo and their own functions on top of it. But it's a pretty solid framework, I have to say. I was actually a bit surprised, because it's, as far as I understand, it was just a couple of people getting together and building something, and it has grown from there. But given that, it's actually pretty professional.
Yeah, they've done a really good job with everything, I think. And I know that there's premium subscriptions which aren't actually too expensive for
Yeah.
depending on your financial situation, obviously. Oof. And yeah, can anyone program a game on Board Game Arena?
You did not turn the cursor, and that's a bummer. No. How do I put this? No. You should have some experience. They actually, Board Games Arena themselves, they have a little presentation for developers, and they basically say what I just said. So on server side, it's PHP, and on client side, it's JavaScript, and they communicate via messages with each other. And then they say, if that sounds fun to you, then you're most welcome. If not, maybe they also have a system where you don't need to program yourself, but I haven't used that one, so I can't say too much about it. But there you seem not to require that much programming experience. But I would assume that the options you have are then somewhat more limited. So maybe the answer is yes, you can get games to Board Games Arena without having programming experience, but that is then probably limited in what you can do with it.
Yeah, it feels like you need, but if you have that program, and Jürgen, if maybe you can translate Gratulation, dass mal jemand aus der Familie bei YouTube auftritt. Hatten wir nicht gedacht.
That's actually my parents. They obviously snug on. I translate for you. It means congratulations that someone out of the family is on YouTube. We did not anticipate that.
Okay.
So my parents are excited.
Hallo Eltern vom Norbert. Now, Alan Outson asks, do Board Game Arena let anyone who is willing to pay create a game? Or do you have to pay? Is it a free process? Are they happy?
It's free. It doesn't cost anything. They're happy to have you on. Board Games Arena is actually, I mean, there is some money involved because they need the infrastructure, the servers and whatnot. But it's mainly about the community. And you feel this when you develop, you can ask in the forums, you can ask questions, and it's a community experience. So you don't have to pay any money to become a developer. You can just become one. You sign up, and then you can start your own project. It's actually pretty straightforward. It's just that you need to learn their framework and everything. And I mean, that took me, I would say, 5 full work days just to get into it and to understand how it all works. That's a bit of an entry barrier. So you got to expect that. You got to bring some patience with you and reserve some time in advance. I basically involuntarily did that because of the lockdown here in New Zealand. Suddenly I had some weekends free and decided that's what I want to do with it.
And Alan Outson says that they know PHP and JavaScript reasonably well.
In that case, you should not have problems getting into it. It's pretty standard PHP and JavaScript. And my knowledge of JavaScript, if you know JavaScript reasonably well, you know what that means. Mine was outdated by 10 years. So I had a little bit of a rough time catching up with all this Dojo stuff and whatnot that did not really exist when I last did web design. I did web design in the browser wars. There was Netscape versus Internet Explorer, right? If anyone remembers that stuff. So that was for me a little bit of a learning experience. But if you're familiar with these languages, then it shouldn't be a problem at all.
It looks like there's a couple of people, Alex also, who says they would like to know PHP and JavaScript better, so potentially that's a thing. Hola Kelu, it's lovely to have you join us. We're just talking about the board game arena process. Cheeky Parrot, who's watching, says that you do need to get permission from the publisher.
And that's a really important point, yes.
For someone like Sate, who only knows how to log on to Board Game Arena, it's probably not a bit too technical for Sate and myself. I did do programming back in the day. Actually, my degree was kind of in, well, I started a degree. It turned out to be in programming. I realized that I hate programming and it makes me depressed. And then I finished a different degree, which was to do with 3D animation and digital art. And so, yeah, Alan Outson and Alex, I'm sure that I, as a publisher of several games, you know, for the LDEC, or which I have full rights, I could, we could have a chat afterwards. And so, yeah, if I wanted to say, hey, Alex or Alan, make this game, what would be the process?
So, as Julia just said, the best is, and Board Games Arena really recommends that first contact the publisher and find out if they would be happy. Having said that, I have the feeling most publishers actually are happy, unless you have some of the really big ones, like I know the 725th.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you ask Fantasy Flight Games, you know, they want to have, anyone owned by Asmodee is going to want their own digital implementation, I believe. And they want a lot tighter controls. But if you ask someone like myself or Gil Hova, it's just going to be a case of, well, for us, having board games out there, then it's allowing more people to play it, and hopefully more people will be able to try it. Yeah, let alone when you get to something like, oof, I think I have to burn a lot of things. This is sad for me.
Oh, what have I done to you?
And yeah, if you're if you've got a board game system, then even better, because then suddenly for people to be able to actually play all the games, yeah, they will have to, oof, this is terrible.
Yeah, you triggered a major collapse. By the way, this is an interesting thing where you see different types of play. Oh,
really? God. Why did the blue collapse there?
Because it didn't fit in color.
What's I? Oh yes, of course.
And on the
one
right side, it also, that was, by the way, a recommendation by Julia. Really good idea. To have more text and explaining what actually happened. So you can read on the right side what caused the collapse.
Yes, the green.
Yeah, that
I
6 is
love this
now.
text because it tells you exactly what's going on, and that explanation that I'm highlighting here is, it really tells you what's going on. And Sates and I actually played this game to sort of not even reading the rules at first, to just see, can we learn this game without even reading the rules? And that's quite a fun thing that you can do on Board Game Arena.
Yeah. I've done this with other games, just jumping in and mostly it works.
Yeah, deine Eltern, danke für die Grüße. Unser Englisch reicht allerdings nicht für eine Konversation, deshalb wir weiterhin in Deutsch. Wir spielen am Wochenende sehr gerne mit den Enkeln das Spiel Pyramide.
Yeah, so my family is actually a big fan of the game. They love to play it with the grandkids. So that's the great thing about Board Games Arena, right? We're 20,000 kilometers away from our family, and online you can just play games together. So that's great. They say thanks for the greetings, and they don't speak English enough to keep the conversation going in English, but they wanted to
Heißt
say.
es auf Deutsch Pyramide? Is
Yeah.
that what the game's called in German, just Pyramide?
Well, it has never been published in Germany. So in Germany, it would also be Flaming Pyramids at the moment. Back when I invented it, I gave it the name the Great Pyramid, but that was just some random development name, right? So yeah, but the German word for pyramid is Pyramide.
When we first played this game, we were surprised by the kind of pyramid shape, and then later I realized that, okay, this is kind of the maximum possibility, and it was for programming reasons that you have this shape on the table. Is that correct?
Not so much for programming reasons, more for well, you mean that the shape is in the background?
Yes, the white squares.
Yeah, I kind of thought that would be nice. Maybe I'm weird there, but yeah, it shows you what you can do. But if you extend the pyramid to the left, beyond that shape, you have these two little fields, right, to the outer left and outer right. Then the whole pyramid moves to the side.
Yes, we were like, oh my god, what's happening? And it just confused us, because it felt like the problem with having the white squares in the background was that for us, it was like, okay, this is a playing area, and you are playing into the playing area. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, originally it was like that, and then people complained about it and said, in the real game I can expand until the end of the table or whatever. I don't know if they put a second table on, if they're overdoing it. The thing is, you have to make maximum use of the space you have. So one of the first things I actually did was checking how big of a playing field do I have in terms of height, so that everything like on your screen fits in one view, because you want to be able to see the whole pyramid in one go, but at the same time you need to be able to read the numbers, right, on the cards. So how do you make this work that it doesn't look completely ugly? That was actually one of the first things I focused on. And that's why I had this outline as well, because that's when you build a whole pyramid with all cards played, that's what you get. That's the maximum. And I don't want to use more space on the screen, right? Because that would take up space, and then you have to make the cards smaller or something. Yeah, that's why it is the way it is. And that's why the pyramid moves to the side, because then you can expand it to the left or to the right, but the overall shape doesn't have to be higher.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess there's lots of small decisions that need to be made whenever you're implementing something for online, because it's not just about the ability for the game to function, but also for the game to clearly tell the user what's going on, and the user experience is such a big part of it. So was this like a crash course in that for you?
Yeah, a
User.
little bit, definitely. Although publishing the game beforehand, working with Julia, who has a lot of experience in making a game in a way that people actually understand where you're going, especially, for example, writing the instruction manual and stuff like that. Um, that already taught me a lot about that. So I'm a very technical guy. So sometimes I approach stuff from a perspective where normal people are like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" To me, it's like, "Oh, this is just the way you explain it, right?" But I don't know. Yeah, and I mean, again, there's a big community. So when you go through the different stages of publishing your game on Board Games Arena, and at the moment we're not fully published. It's still it's a beta.
Yeah,
Um,
take your move and let's get onto that. And I want to say thank you to Javier who says, Dein Deutsch ist auch sehr gut, Bez, which I understand. Vielleicht kannst du das nicht verstehen, was du liest, aber deine Aussprache ist toll. I think they're
yeah, I
saying
agree.
maybe I can't understand what I'm reading, but my I guess Aussprache must mean pronunciation.
Pronunciation, yes.
It's
Yes, it
great.
does.
Um,
Well, obviously, you do understand what you're reading.
well, I understand some of the words. Um, oof, this is a tricky one. Um, the interesting thing about this game is obviously you keep these cards hidden, so there's a little bit of hand management, and ideally you want to have one of each color available, just so
Yes.
that you can have something going on. And yeah, when you can't, it's just okay. I mean, I guess I could have actually played a green 4. Maybe that would have been more likely to mess with you. Um,
Yeah, that's a decision you have to make. Do you want to get rid of your heavy weights, or do you want to be mean to your opponents? That's a little bit of trade-off.
hmm.
Both strategies can work. Ah, yeah, that was a nice choice, but I I do have a red 4, so I'm safe for now.
Oof, that means that I have to make things collapse. This is very
Oh,
sad.
oh,
So tell us about the beta process and what the submission process is like. Do you
okay.
get to write something and then integrate it with their codes? Is there an alpha process even before the beta process?
Yeah. So this is the normal software development process that they adapted. And so you start by just programming, and you get, this is really cool, you get 10 accounts. This is really just basically your name with a number at the end, 0 to 9. And then you just program the stuff on your own for a while. And I have then but just been using my family basically as crash test dummies for the first versions. And you can give these accounts, these first versions, to people. And then I gave one, for example, when the game looked a little bit more polished, to Julia, the publisher, so that she could have a play with me and give me some very early feedback. And at that stage, you can do whatever you want, because no one else basically cares unless you purposefully involve anyone. But you can basically program away until you're reasonably happy with the program. And then the next stage would be to try to get the game into alpha, which means you show it to the admins and say, I want to move it into alpha. And when it is in alpha testing, that means that select other developers, a group of people called reviewers, people who say, yeah, this is fun, I want to do this, review new games. They look at it and give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. And some developers go the way of putting stuff pretty early into alpha. To be honest, I tried to polish it as much as I could before I even did that. So we went through alpha in 4 weeks. That was
Okay.
really fast. But if it depends on how clean your program is already looking. If it's still pretty buggy or something, then it might take quite much longer before it gets into beta. And then Well, if 10 reviewers give you a thumbs up, then you move into beta.
Hmm.
And in beta, the game can be played just by logging in Board Games Arena and typing in the name. You can find it and you can play it, but it's not yet being advertised. And
Sure.
that's a really clever method, because with that you keep the audience a little bit lower. There is a certain type of bug that only shows up every 100 games, but if you have 1,000 people playing the game per day, then you suddenly have that bug showing up 10 days a day, right? And so this beta stage is pretty clever, just to make sure that you're not being overwhelmed by people still finding bugs in your game. That's what we're in at the moment. At the beginning, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, people found still quite a number of bugs, or for example, had some requests in terms of functionality that has died down significantly. So at this stage, it's bug-free since a week. And I'm soon going to contact an admin and say exactly that. Hey, it's been bug-free for quite a while. How about we go public? But the thing is, that also has to fit in terms of time, because when your game goes out of beta into the full version, then it's being advertised on the page, and they only advertise 1 game or 2 games per week maximum. So you have sort of a backlog or a queue of games that want to be published, so that your
And
game actually gets proper advertised. So at the moment, it's, I think, Downforce, right? That is being...
yeah, when you talk
Yeah.
about being advertised, it's these main big things
Yes.
where it says,
Yes.
here's what's coming out, this is the new thing.
Available now, yeah. Yes, exactly. So at some point when we're through beta, this will happen to Flaming Pyramids, and that will increase the audience significantly.
Oh, damn you. Oh,
I just want...
congratulations.
Thanks.
So, we have a couple of questions. Firstly, yes, there you can see a physical version.
Yeah.
Wait, I will have to go to the Kickstarter, I guess, because there's no... This little advert, is that on... Does the publisher get the right to put some advert there?
Yes, there's a publisher account that you can connect to the game. So I have a game developer account, and Julia has the publisher account, and she basically can design that banner and put there whatever she wants. And as far as I know, she also can change the link. Yeah, she can change the link where that goes. So if the online store changes or something, she can easily just change that.
And here from the Kickstarter, I'm going to share this video where we can see everything going on.
Yeah, this is what the box really looks like.
Um,
Give me a second. So,
no, I removed the sound of the video just so that we could chat.
yes,
But,
yes. So I just grabbed the copy. So this is what the box looks like in real life.
Oh, maybe you want to show us quickly the pieces, so we compare it to...
So it's like a exploding exploding kittens box with a magnet. I think that's really cool. Julia always does that. And then, how do I have to hold this? This is not easy.
And so all the artwork that you had, was it from an assets sheet that Julia sent over?
No, we had an actual game artist who drew all this stuff.
Yeah, I understand that, but I mean for BGA, for BGA, did you have the asset sheets, and then Julia sent that over, and then you plug for your use of the assets for Board Game Arena? That's what I'm asking.
I just got some PNG pictures from Julia for all the cards. I think she's originally using Photoshop, I don't know. Julia, you may be able to comment yourself
Oh no, no,
what
I
you're
was just
using.
basically want. So you didn't create any of the graphics. You got them sent over. So like, let's
Yes.
say that Alan Alton says, did you decide how it would look before you started to code it? Did you decide the layout and everything
Yeah.
earlier?
Yes. I think that's really important. As I said, the getting an idea of how much space do you have available. I mean, these days, fortunately, all monitors have roughly the same resolution, so that helps a lot. So you know basically what you're dealing with. I also played some games on the smartphone just to see how other people deal with the space. And then I made a course plan and really did these small tiles that are only 50 by 50 pixels. I really went into and tested for some cards at least that I can make that work, that you see the number and still know which color it is and if it's stone or straw. So that was pretty important for me to basically know how I'm actually gonna program it. And then I went from there. And then so that was the very first phase. Then I knew, okay, this is gonna work. And then I went into programming, really into the deep dive into PHP and JavaScript and getting the conversation between server and client working. There is a MySQL database in the background, which from a user's perspective is why you can basically close your browser and open it again. Even if everyone closes their browser and you come back later to it and open it again, you can just continue your game, right? And that's because it's all running in a database in the background. So that more dry stuff that has nothing to do with the UI. Um,
And
that was the next phase.
so we had some questions about mobile phone, and thanks for the input. I guess that's Julia
Yeah,
um, from
from
and
GB
Alan Outson says, I guess it has to work on mobiles as well as desktop. I'm sure that that is something that you have to do before it even goes into alpha.
Well, the good news there is that if you just go with the guidelines that come from Board Games Arena, they have a tutorial. I think if someone from Board Games Arena is listening, please improve your tutorial because it's explaining a lot how you do things, but not necessarily why, and it's not nicely interlinked with the documentation. So you need to bring a little bit of frustration tolerance, but it's not too bad. I don't want to make it sound too bad. It's actually quite okay.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Um,
let's be honest, most programming I do you know Colin Mook? I think their name is.
no, sorry.
I that was the only programming book that I actually quite liked. I think they wrote like for action scripts. I never learned action script 2.0, let alone 3.0. No, I think it was maybe, but it was proper action scripts for Flash, and yeah, it was like Colin Mook. They kind of lay it out in a very clear way, and I think they write a lot of programming books. But
Hmm.
most guidelines, there's just so much that you have to work out yourself, you have to navigate. But for mobiles, is it the case that you have a completely different set of art assets? So you say,
No, it's
okay,
the same. It's the same. I used the same alt asset. There was no difference. And the good news is, I mean, Board Games
no,
Arena
sorry,
takes
I'm
care
not.
of
So,
most of that.
I'm just saying that different, surely different images would display on a mobile phone if
No,
you
no, it's the
really.
same. Yeah, yeah.
Do you have the ability to display different things on a mobile phone?
Um, I wouldn't know how, to be honest. You kind of, if you imagine that the Board Games Arena framework is basically a layer between you and the user, and all that abstraction happens by Board Games Arena. So you don't know if you're running on a smartphone or on a tablet or a computer, and you shouldn't. You shouldn't be bothered with that. You just have your gaming area, and then Board Games Arena, their framework places, for
Hmm.
example, the players to the right, top right, or to the very top, like it is in smartphones. I had never to do anything of that. That's all handled by the framework, and you're really just focusing on your game
So it
inside
sounds
of
like
the
the
framework.
art that you use and the assets, like everything, all arts assets need to be at least clear and iconic enough so that they can be clearly seen even when they're reduced in size.
Yes. So my first version, for example, was really hard to read on smartphones. So Julia and I went back to the drawing board and did all the cards fresh, the smaller ones, and made them differently so that you can really really read the numbers on smartphones as well as on PC. They use actually PNG. I've been using PNG, but when you publish the game, they translate it into JPEG just to save space and throughput. So there is
Okay.
some compression happening on it that you can't get rid of, unfortunately. I'm not too happy with that, but what can you do? And I don't know, since someone is asking, they're using sprites. So instead of having 45 different pictures for 45 different cards, you have one array, basically one big picture where all the cards are in it, and then you just tell the program the coordinates where every card is, so that one big picture is being loaded once when the game starts,
Mm.
and then your browser already has that and just has to
So it's
display
like a
it.
typical sprite sheet for a video game.
Basically, yes, yes. That seems to be the standard way to do it these days, because then your browser really only has to store that one big picture and can put it wherever it wants.
Now, a quick side note, because Sate says, ach, grad gesehen, dass du hier studiert hast. Grüße aus Leipzig, which
Well,
I'm,
that's amazing.
can you
Grüße an die
translate?
Heimat.
Because I think I'm missing the tone of the thing. I understand some of the words, but can you translate?
That means, well, just seen that you studied here. Greetings from Leipzig. And Leipzig is the city where I studied. So we'll
So if
cook
I
for
change
board
the banner
games.
back, you can read it at the bottom. Now, and if you are on YouTube or Facebook, you can read that in the description, but I have it scrolling at the bottom because, yeah, that's all the pertinent info. And I do want to give a shout out to Cheeky Parrot, who says that they've made the code public. Presumably, a lot of that code, how much of that code would be something that you could translate to something very different? And it does occur to me, let's say hypothetically, if Alan was interested and willing to program a word game, and a certain publisher was happy to let Alan program a word game, that would be a much bigger task because you would need the full dictionary of all the possible words, right?
Yeah. Oh wow. Well, you got to be careful there, because Board Games Arena, they don't want a lot of additional functionality. Maybe to make one straightforward example, you could think, hey, we could put solo games into it, and then you just play against the computer or something. But imagine 100 people playing in parallel to each other, and then the computer has to basically calculate intelligently the best moves against them. That's suddenly way more load on the servers for Board Games Arena than just playing the game, people playing with each other. And I think if you have stuff like dictionary then you need to store the dictionary somewhere. So that would be a much bigger order than just putting a game in.
Hmm.
So that's a little bit, because then the computer becomes basically an extra functionality that you normally don't have, right? Normally in a normal game, all the players have to agree this word is legal. So the normal thing to do in Board Games Arena would be to somehow find a way to find a digital version of that kind of agreement.
You mean that rather than because I mean, one thing about Board Game Arena, that a couple of things about Board Game Arena. I mean, so if someone's not familiar, it's like a way that you can play board games online. I mean, I just assumed that everyone watching already knows what Board Game Arena is. And the two things that this are different about Board Game Arena from lots of other places is, firstly, unlike Tabletop Simulator or Tabletopia, it doesn't have physics. So you can't, it's purely iconographic, it's purely functional. And for me, that makes it easier actually as a player, because I don't have to worry about, how do I roll the dice? It's just easy. It's a button. Do you know what I mean? And it
Yes.
guides you through everything. The Board Game Arena framework is super intuitive as a user. The second thing is that Board Game Arena has rules enforcement. So it plays almost more like a video game, because that's one of the unique things about board games versus video games, that to some degree, if I play a game, let's say there's a game involving pyramids. Now, maybe those pyramids are words, maybe those pyramids are going on fire, I don't know. There's all sorts of games involving pyramids. And if I say, okay, actually, I want to make a small change. I want to, let's for this game have extra cards. I don't know why. No one's going to stop me. And, well, I still need to find the people at the table to agree to that. But it's going to be like, hey, Chris, do you want to try something different? Oh, yeah, why not? And that's all we need to do. Whereas with a video game, it enforces the rules. You can't change them. I mean, yes, there's little toggles that the programmer has put in, but you are suggesting for a word game that you would ask the players to say, is this word valid or not? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, there would be a one-to-one realization of what you're normally doing, right? Just that you do it in a digital form. If you actually want to have some form of dictionary, then what I'm saying is, I would ask the admins in Board Games Arena if they are okay with that, and what they would recommend how you do that. I would not just go there and assume that it's something you can do, build a huge database or something, because a dictionary is huge. So that's something I would just clarify in advance with the admins from Board Games Arena. That's all I'm saying. I can't speak for them. I can't say, yeah, they are okay with that or not, but I know they have very strict rules around try to keep the game just how it is with the physical copy. So I for example, took an exemption from that, right? There is an expansion that exists for Flaming Pyramids only online, the Fire Die. That is an expansion that does not exist for the physical game. That's just an idea I had in the lockdown. And then I thought, well, I'm the game designer and I'm the developer, so I take the freedom, and the admins were totally fine with that. But in parts, because I'm the game designer and I'm the guy who ported it to Board Games Arena, if you were to say I take it as just some random game from a publisher, you would A, have to ask the publisher, and B, the guys from Board Games Arena would have to be happy with that one as well, because the rules basically are you're supposed to make a one-to-one copy so that people who know the physical copy then also know how to play it on Board Games Arena. But a dictionary is certainly doable. I mean, it's not an, don't get me wrong, it's not an outrageous idea. I find it actually a good idea. I mean,
that's how word games normally do it. So if you're playing a word game, a digital version of word games on your phone or anything like that, normally they have a dictionary that enforces these rules. I mean, to be fair, I'm trying to think, well, now at least there's Puzzle, which could totally be done or without words, and that's an L game. If someone actually wants a simple project, I think Puzzle should actually be fairly simple to program. And there's another competition entry that, sounds. Although Puzzle, that's a one-player game, and so Is there any desire to play one-player games on Board Game Arena?
Could be. I mean, solo games are being played. Um, I myself am not a huge fan of solo games. I basically have board games to play with other people, and I'm also quite strongly into computer games. I don't know if you noticed, but my avatar, for example, is the Master Chief from Halo. So if I want to play alone, I play computer games, Steam, online stuff, and if I want to play with other people, then I play board games. So I don't know, but there is quite a community of solo players with physical games, right? People have been asking for that. Is there a solo variant of Flaming Pyramids and of other games? They are on high request, so I would assume the same is true for Board Games Arena. If people just want to play a game on their own, why not?
But certainly, Alex and Alan, if you are interested in, putting a game up, I would love to have something up there. We have a couple of side questions. Firstly, my own question. If someone wants to find a code, Julia or Norbert, do you know where people would find this code?
Well, you just log into Board Games Arena. We're not the only ones who have the code public. There are other projects as well, but quite a number of them are also not public. So, and I think Flaming Pyramids is one of the games that are a bit easier to understand. It's not a too complicated game, also in terms of code. You have to become a developer at Board Games Arena. So it's studio.boardgamesarena where you'll find all this.
Okay, so you need to put in some sorts of application.
Yeah, well, you just you just register there. It's like registering on Facebook or something. That application is too strong a word for what you have to do. And then once you are a developer, you can look at other games and read the source code. You set up your FTP server, and then you can add games to, yeah, exactly, studio.boardgamearena. That's where all this stuff happens. Yeah, they're on the right side of this. Join the studio developers team.
Okay, so you're basically adding that those things to your existing board game stuff.
Yeah, and then you have to when you can click on manage games, and then you can type in Flaming Pyramids and add that to the games that you manage, and then you will have FTP access to all the sources.
Now we've got hello Fire Eagle from Grüße aus Deutschland, Mirko. I don't know if this is someone you know. It's lovely to have you. And we have someone who asks, have you been to WellyCon?
Yes, I have actually. Once. Only once. It's from Hamilton where I am. You have to fly or take a 7-hour drive, so it's quite a bit far away. But I have been to WellyCon. I think 2 years ago. Quite enjoyed it.
We have some people who say it's the biggest convention in 2020. I know that there's some people who are making the same claim about Aircon, which had a few thousand people in Harrogate. I think that quite often, this year, none of the very big conventions might have been happening, but I think that people are too quick to make these claims to say that it's the biggest, or even UK Games Expo, frankly. And I love Richard, and I don't want to disparage them. But when they say, "Oh, we are the fourth or fifth biggest in the world," and then they are only looking at Essen, Gen Con, Origins, basically they're only looking at Essen and the American stuff, just the conventions where people are speaking English. And Gil Hova made the point that if you look further afield, there are conventions in Italy, the one which is the entire city, Tokyo Games Fair, Cannes, Festival International de Jeux is probably bigger than UK Games Expo if you look at the number of people who go in. Yeah, sure. If you only speak English, you will have a bad time in Cannes because it's not
Probably,
meant to be
yes.
an international thing. It's meant to be a big local convention. Do you know what I mean? But
Yes, yes.
I think that people are too quick, and it kind of annoys me to some degree when people say, oh, we were the first or we were the biggest. And if you're going to make these sorts of claims, you should at least. I mean, if I say, okay, the LDEC is the best curated game system, everyone knows that I'm kind of hopefully being slightly facetious. That's what I'm aspiring to. And I want it to be the best curated game system, but that's very subjective. And so I don't think there's any way of saying, okay, exactly how is it curated? But I do believe that I do a lot of work in the competitions and everything. Anyway, I'm getting away from the point. I'm sorry. I still love
No
seeing.
worries.
I still love, everyone involved in WellyCon. I just, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I cannot imagine that RallyCon is the biggest conference, to be honest. But at the end of the day, I'm wondering, why does it matter how big the conference is? RallyCon is certainly big enough that you have all sorts of games being played. It's quite an impressive crowd. And at the same time, you have this, one of the reasons why I stayed in New Zealand, this typical Kiwi thing going on of everyone being incredibly polite, everyone being incredibly open-minded. So if you see a game that you like, you just talk to people and say, hey, can I join you? And people are extremely friendly. And I don't know, this is the stuff that matters to me. And if then there's another 700 rooms full of people or not, I don't know, why do you care that much, I would ask, if it's the biggest conference. At the moment, it's probably the freest conference. I mean, in New Zealand, we had a really hard lockdown very early on, and we are corona-free. We are
Certainly one
corona-free.
of the healthiest conventions this year.
Yes,
That's a good thing.
yes.
That's honestly, kudos to. Obviously, New Zealand is a very sparsely populated place. It's very big, not quite as big as Australia, but
No, nothing is quite as big as Australia.
But it's
apart
pretty
from some
big.
other really big countries like
And
Canada, Russia.
it's not something that you could really manage to achieve in the UK, for example. I mean, getting back to what we said, Javier says Festival International de Jeux can't be measured accurately because you have Premier Access tickets, but a lot of people get in for free. I would slightly disagree with that because you can count the people who go in, but I know it's a completely different situation. But whatever you're saying, you're going to make more and more okay. As an exhibitor, like from Gilhova's perspective, as an exhibitor, it's all about how many people are you going to reach, how many people are going to buy a thing, is it worth getting a... And to some degree, Norbert, what you say is true. Why does it matter how big it is? Let's talk about how much fun it is. I mean, that's not a thing that we can measure, but I believe that in Japan, or no, China, I know this is ridiculous, but the government has an official list of the most beautiful mountains. So the government has basically said that
they do.
These are the mountains, and we have ordered them in terms of beauty so that
some
everyone...
clown in an office has decided the order of the mountains, and that's now kids have now to learn in school the right order of the mountains that the party has decided.
I know that I had...
I can laugh about this because this is basically how I grew up, right?
You're mocking the kind of ingrained declaration of something that should be totally subjective.
Yeah, that there's way more... I mean, Western society is all about individuality, and sometimes I feel like a lot of people don't even realize how much that is true and how different it can actually be. So in Eastern Germany, for example, was all about being adapted and fitting in. And we actually have students here from Asia and from time to time from China that are in our house at the moment. We have two of them. Basically, I call them my borrowed children, and what I hear from them often reminds me a little bit of back in the days. That there's a different mentality of way less focus on individuality and more focus on this is the right way to see things. I don't know if you catch my drift.
Yeah, I think this is. Wait, I think Kastchen. Kistchen.
Question.
Kistchen.
Yeah, that's a little box. Diminutive. English doesn't have that. I mean, what kind of a language doesn't have a diminutive? But it's, when you make something smaller, like a box, and then a small box, but in German you can have Kasten and then Kästchen, which is a small Kasten.
So if I've got eine Karte, do I have, and I had a little one, would it be eine Karte?
Kärtchen.
Kartchen.
Kärtchen. Yeah, that's how it works.
Okay. Now, there we go. Sate knows German as well. If you give me permission, I will play to round us off. Well, a brief snippet from one of your songs, which I have not.
Take the last one from today. That's the one I'm currently proudest of.
Okay, which one is that? Lulu. This one. So while this plays, I wanted to. And so I just wanted to play a brief snippet. So you play music with your family, and board gaming, design, and programming with your family, presumably.
No, the programming I did on my own. My kids are getting into programming. They're 11 and 13.
But you've brought them into this world.
Yes, I'm at fault there, I guess.
It has been quite a bit over the hour, and as we come to 11:19 UK time, I would like to start slowly wrapping up. If people wish to find your stuff, they can check it out on the link which I will share for the music. And of course, you have all the links to Flaming Pyramids and on Board Game Arena, which you can now try out. Cheeky Parrot games and whatnot. And I would like to
maybe that's one thing I want to say for a short moment. If you like Flaming Pyramids, Cheeky Parrot has quite a number of games that are similar, like the newest one, Flipology, quick to learn and really fun to play. So that's a little bit the focus that Julia has with her games that are rather quick to learn and fun for the whole family. You can play with your children without feeling completely brain dead as a parent. I don't know. So with a Cheeky Parrot, check that out because there are some really good games there. Horde, for example, is pretty successful as well. Just to mention that too.
And yeah, there's quite a few things that you can see here. If you want to check me out, you can go to stuffbybez.bigcartel.com to buy my stuff, twitter.com/stuffbybez, where I post very often, instagram.com/stuffbybez, I sometimes share pictures, twitch.tv/stuffbybez is the best place to watch my videos, facebook.com/thingsbybez, or stuffbybez@gmail.com if you want to email me. And now I would like to say, what are we looking forward to? Hopes and ambitions, it's over to you for the final section. So as always, I invite our guests and anybody watching to share what are you looking forward to, whether it's today or tomorrow or next week or next month, or maybe even in a year's time, once COVID has completely cleared from the countries that are not New Zealand. So let us know what you are looking forward to. And yeah, we've got someone, Xate, says they're looking forward to drawings and discussions later today, where Xate is going to chat to Catherine Morgan, and I am going to be drawing. And so it's at 13:40 UK time. Werbung Ende. I don't know what's Werbung. Is that promotion?
End of advertisement. Yeah.
Okay. So, what are you looking forward to?
Well, that's a loaded question. Well, with Flaming Pyramids, I really hope that there will be a fixed community of people playing it. I've been pretty excited actually over the last weeks. I played sometimes just to test stuff, or just because I wanted to see how it's going. I clicked in and played with random people. I had a good laugh because most of the time I played in studio, and then I actually started playing on the normal platform, and the game called me a total beginner in Flaming Pyramids. And the people I played with I assume they had no idea that they were actually playing with the inventor of the game. I thought that was somehow cool. So just growing the community, playing with more people, having the game become more popular, that would be amazing. To be honest, keeping doing that, like playing the game with people from Hong Kong and Italy and whatnot, that completely blew me away. That was a pretty amazing experience, to be honest. So that is something that I hope we can achieve, that it grows a bit more. We just tried to get it to Ravensburger, that they maybe pick it up, but unfortunately they didn't. It was not they didn't show us the door. It was more, good game, but sorry, we were looking for something else. Okay, but if someone bigger picks it up, that would be, of course, absolutely amazing.
And yeah, I think that it's always a good thing to have when you make a game, you want to kind of reach more people. So having it reach more people, I think, is always a good hope and ambition. I mean, I think that long term, that's my hope/ambition, that one day in the future, I will, not just be getting 16 contest entries, but once I've got like multiple decks of the L deck. Honestly, I know that people say Dave Wetherall said Seize the Power is kind of better, but this is not just one game. This is so many games, and I would love to have it be a thing that actually brings a real income, to be able to hire community managers to kind of help me with all the contest entries, someone else to help me with the rewriting of the rules, and maybe like in 10 years' time, there might be, I don't know, like 100 or 200 contest entries coming in, and then we really spend a dedicated 1 week to just read through these things, and then really enjoying them, and then playing through all of. I feel like I'm excited to see what comes of the journey, and frankly, I'm really excited to just for the journey a week ahead. I've gotten Layla and Chris, and I know I'm saying that every day, but I am super excited about it, to play all these games together. And also, I like to try and say something that I'm looking forward to today. I might make myself a nice cup of tea. I've not had tea in quite a while. But, true story. Now, I want to recap. It sounds like anyone who knows JavaScript and PHP and is interested in doing more JavaScript and PHP can do this. But if you don't know those things, then or you aren't interested in really getting into the details of those languages, then this is not something that you should even consider.
Well, kind of. I mean, if you're into it, you can learn JavaScript and PHP. There are online courses and stuff like that, and materials available. And if that's fun to you, then Board Games Arena can be a place where you actually learn that stuff. The only condition is that you bring the enthusiasm with you, right? It's like trying to learn piano and hating to play the piano. That's not gonna work. So, but if you bring the enthusiasm and the interest with you and the time, then it's absolutely doable. Anyone who wants to do that can do that.
And thank you so much to everyone watching. I want to say thank you to Xate, to Alan Oughton, to Javier, to your parents, and to Cheeky Parrot Games for coming by, and Alex. I didn't say Alex, but yes, thank you to everyone. And yeah, I'm not going to have hot tea, but I'm going to have tea and then let it cool down. But it's going to be a fancy kind of tea. I've got pear and apple tea. I might even put a little bit of cinnamon into it.
Oh, nice! That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. And yeah, do you have any final words that you would like to share? Any tips for people on the journey? If Alex or Alan or anyone who's watching after, because this is going to stay up on YouTube for until I'm banned for some strange reason, or someone hacks my account, or YouTube falls down, or the internet collapses, which is a long time, hopefully. But yeah, to anyone who's watched until this end, what final tips would you have?
I would say if you want to put a game to Board Games Arena, there are lots of games that actually are waiting, where publishers are already registered there and say, hey, please put my game up, program something. So there are more people actually. Yeah, I mean, most publishers really are totally happy to have their game being put there. If that's something you want to do, then my advice would be just put the time in and learn it. It's a skill that can be helpful anyway in the real world, learning these programming skills. Yeah, just register and try it out. And if you realize after some weeks you absolutely hate it, well, then you learned at least that that's not for you. And that's also a lesson learned.
And congratulations on getting, I mean, I understand that there might be, as you say, a bug that happens once in every 100 games, but congratulations on getting it up there. That, you know, it must be super exciting to be able to tap into this online community. And now people can try it for free. And yeah, there's a lovely thing where, you know, the achievement system, at a certain point, you do want to try all the games because of the points. And if you have enjoyed this show, then please share it and spread the word. And Alan Oughton has now registered 10 usernames, so they can give themselves thumbs up for the alpha.
Very good. See, it doesn't take long. He already registered and is there now.
My next streams, oh my gosh, so much. There is a Google Calendar document that I was trying to find a link to again, but basically I can access it, but I don't know how to share it because that's how bad I am at technology. Today at about 2:30, we're going to be doing design, drawing, and discussion. We might need to have a different name because D and D. You know, I hear that there's already something else in board gaming which
Yeah,
has
there could
those.
be. I don't know.
I've
It
not heard of
rings a
anything
bell
D and
somehow.
D. You know, it kind of rings a bell. You know, but yeah, I just kind of, based on the fact that I've had to shorten this to BBBB, and I'm actually thinking about removing one of the B's, because actually, let me know what you think of that, because it's not really at breakfast time. It's, I mean, I make a joke of it, but what is it? 8 p.m. over there?
Now here it's 10:30 p.m.
Wow, it's late. Sorry.
Oh, that's all good.
But yeah, it's not brunch time. I mean, you can't say, "Oh, I woke up. I've not had anything all day. I'm just eating now. It's brunch." I mean,
Ah, well. There's always morning somewhere, right? So
oh, thank you very much. It has so you can, let me try and go into the thing, and if I copy this from that comment, I will copy this into the other channels, and if you follow that link, then it will take you to my Google Calendar, where you can see all my forthcoming things, which oh sorry, share screen again, Google Calendar, and you see all my streams that are coming up, where yeah, basically it's maybe I'm going to change that time. It's at 2:30. We've decided. Oh, wait. Other people can't edit it, only me, but everyone can view it. And Jason explained to me how to do it. So we're going to do a drawing. Tomorrow is my 100th episode. Oh yeah, I was going to say, let me know. Maybe that could be the last ever Bezzy Breakfast board game, Bezzy Brunchy board game bladder. And then I just changed the name to Bezzy Board Game Bladder. Let me know what you think, because then that will be one less character, and maybe people will be able to see more of the topic. Then I'm going to be chatting about Virtually Expo with Richard Denning, then developing art alongside games with Rory Muldoon, and then Alan Paul, and we're going to be playing some games. Just, oh, yeah. It has been lovely to have you all. Yeah, well, we've not got any conclusions. We've got a wee robot who doesn't give me any good advice. No, thank you. And there is only one thing left to do, which is to say bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye bye, everybody.
bye.